The underestimation. For centuries, humanity had been viewed as weak and insignificant by the galaxy's powerful civilizations. The great empires that stretched across the stars saw Earth as a small, primitive planet in the far reaches of the universe. To them, humans were just another species, struggling to survive in a galaxy filled with advanced beings and powerful fleets. The aliens believed that Earth was nothing special and would always remain at the bottom of the galactic hierarchy. Humans had never been able to prove otherwise. While alien races flourished with their advanced technology, towering cities, and centuries of knowledge, humans fought to stay alive on their planet, constantly battling the harsh elements of their environment. Their technology was simple by galactic standards. While they had made incredible strides in space travel and technology, they still lacked the immense power and influence that the galaxy's great empires wielded. But there was something that the galaxy's empires did not understand about humans. While the universe had ignored them, laughed at their struggles, and underestimated their potential, humanity possessed something more valuable than any advanced weapon or technology. They had heart. They had willpower. They were capable of surviving the harshest of conditions, pushing forward in the face of adversity. Despite all the mockery and disbelief from the galaxy's elites, humans had never given up. They worked tirelessly to improve their technology, sending ships into deep space, learning about the universe, and slowly but surely evolving. Yet to the galaxy's powerful races, these were just mere flashes in the dark. Earth's human race was still seen as a stepping stone, a planet that would never rise to the level of the Empire's most feared species. At the height of this belief, the galaxy's empires were focused on expanding their influence. They conquered planet after planet, laying claim to entire sectors of space. In their eyes, humans were nothing more than a distraction in the grand scheme of the universe. Their world was not worthy of any real attention. Every time Earth made a breakthrough in technology or space exploration, the galaxy's leaders simply brushed it off, thinking it was a fluke or worse, something they could easily control if necessary. And then something happened. Something no one could have predicted. One fateful day, a new threat emerged. The galaxy's empires, which had been so confident in their superiority, were suddenly faced with a danger that was beyond anything they had ever encountered. A new force, unlike anything seen before, began to sweep across the galaxy. It was an enemy unlike any the empires had faced. Their ships were powerful, their weapons deadly, and their strategy flawless. The invaders struck quickly and ruthlessly, leaving entire star systems destroyed in their wake. The greatest fleets of the galaxy, once so confident in their strength, struggled to keep up. Battles raged in space, but the invaders' technology was far beyond anything the galaxy's armies had ever seen. Entire fleets were destroyed in a matter of minutes, and planets were left in ruins. No one knew how to stop the invaders. They were unstoppable. The powerful empires, which had once laughed at humanity's weakness, were now terrified. They had underestimated the universe's true dangers, and now, for the first time, the galaxy's mighty forces were facing something they could not conquer. As the invaders continued their conquest, the galaxy's greatest civilizations began to fall one by one. Planets that had once been thriving centers of power were now nothing but burning husks. The people who had once laughed at the idea of humans standing a chance were now scrambling for survival. The universe, which had seen humanity as weak, was now in the midst of a nightmare it couldn't wake up from. The leaders of the galaxy realized, too late, that they had been wrong. They had assumed that their power was unmatched, that no one could ever challenge their rule. They had dismissed Earth and humanity as a joke, never once thinking that the humans could one day be their salvation. Now, the galaxy was on the brink of collapse, and the only hope for survival lay with a species they had scorned. But despite the desperation, the galaxy's leaders still didn't fully understand what humanity was capable of. They thought that the humans, being so inexperienced and unprepared, would simply hide, cower, and wait for their inevitable demise. They still couldn't grasp the idea that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons, but its spirit. The first signs of hope came in a simple, unexpected form. A transmission from Earth, a message sent to the far reaches of space, reached the galaxy's leaders. It was a call for help, a plea from the humans who had long been ignored and underestimated. They didn't have the resources of the other empires, but they had something the galaxy didn't: determination. It was the beginning of something no one could have predicted. The galaxy had spent centuries underestimating humanity, but soon they would learn just how wrong they had been. As the universe was on the brink of chaos, the stage was set for humanity to prove itself, at last. Would they rise to the occasion, or would they be crushed under the weight of galactic expectations? Only time would tell. The crisis unfolds. As the universe watched in horror, the new invaders spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The greatest empires, with their once unmatched fleets, were now struggling to defend their territories. Planet after planet fell to the invaders' relentless march. The once dominant powers were forced to retreat into their home systems, unable to hold back the tidal wave of destruction. The threat was unlike any they had faced before. The invaders had no mercy. Entire star systems were erased, entire species wiped from existence without a trace. The galaxy's leaders, once so confident in their superiority, began to panic. They had no idea how to fight back. Every strategy they tried was crushed. The invaders adapted quickly, learning from every battle, making their forces even more deadly with each passing hour. The invaders were faster, stronger, and far more advanced than anything the galaxy's empires had ever seen. Worse, they were relentless, showing no signs of stopping until everything in their path was gone. As the invaders continued their conquest, a cold, undeniable truth set in. The galaxy was losing. Entire star systems that had been the cornerstones of galactic power fell silent. Messages stopped coming in from once thriving planets, and reports from the front lines grew increasingly grim. The best fleets of the galaxy, once feared by all, were now in retreat, running low on supplies and losing ships at an alarming rate. The leaders of the galactic empires held desperate meetings in hidden chambers, scrambling for answers, but none came. Their fleets were no match for the invaders. They had been caught off guard, and now they were paying the price. They had always thought that no one could defeat them. They had laughed at humanity's weakness, dismissing Earth and its people as insignificant. But now, they were realizing that their arrogance had blinded them to the real danger. At the height of their panic, a shocking realization hit the galactic leaders. Earth, once viewed as weak and unimportant, was now at the center of their survival. The invaders, who had been systematically destroying everything in their path, were now heading toward the small, forgotten planet at the edge of the galaxy. Earth was next in line for annihilation. The decision came quickly, though it was filled with reluctance and bitterness. The galaxy's greatest powers, realizing they had no choice, sent an urgent plea for help to the humans of Earth. They were desperate. The humans, who had been dismissed and ignored for so long, were now their last hope. It was a stark turn of events. The invaders were closing in, and only the humans had the potential to turn the tide. The message reached Earth quickly, though the people of the planet couldn't understand the gravity of the situation at first. They had been aware of the galactic tensions, of the advanced civilizations out there in the stars, but they had never been a part of it. Earth was isolated, on the outskirts of known space, with little contact from the alien empires. But now, the message was different. It wasn't a casual trade request or a diplomatic meeting. It was a desperate cry for help. The humans on Earth, long considered inferior by the rest of the galaxy, now had a choice. Would they answer the call? Would they stand alongside the powerful empires that had always looked down on them? The leaders of the human nations debated. There were some who believed the invaders were unstoppable and that humanity should focus on saving itself. But there were others who, knowing the stakes, understood that this was their moment. In an unexpected move, The humans chose to act. They knew that the galaxy's greatest powers were faltering. Despite their limited resources and relatively primitive technology, humanity made a bold decision. They offered everything they had: ships, soldiers, weapons, whatever it took to help turn the tide of war. The galaxy's leaders were skeptical, but desperate. What else could they do? As Earth began to mobilize its forces, they were met with suspicion and disbelief. The humans, after all, had never been a part of the galactic community. They had no great fleets, no centuries of advanced technology. How could they possibly hope to make a difference? Yet, in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity began to prepare for war. And as they did, something began to shift. It wasn't just their technology or their ships that set them apart. It was something deeper. It was their will, their refusal to back down, no matter the odds. While the galaxy's empires had become complacent and arrogant in their dominance, humans still understood the value of fighting for survival. As the humans readied themselves for the battles ahead, the galaxy's empires could only watch in disbelief. The great powers had made a mistake, one they could not undo. They had underestimated humanity's resilience, and now they had no choice but to hope that the very species they had ignored could save them from the enemy they could not defeat. The first battle between the humans and the invaders was set to begin. It was a battle of desperate hope, where humanity would either rise to the challenge or fall like the rest. No one knew how it would end, but one thing was certain. Earth would no longer be underestimated. The universe's view of humanity was about to change forever. The plea for help. As the invaders pressed closer to Earth, the galaxy's great powers were growing increasingly desperate. Their fleets had been shattered, their planets decimated, and their advanced technologies proved useless against the invaders' relentless onslaught. In every meeting, whispers of fear and uncertainty grew louder. The mighty empires, once the undisputed rulers of the galaxy, had no answer for the threat that loomed over them. And then, in their darkest hour, the unexpected happened. A transmission came through, an emergency signal sent from the very edge of known space. It was Earth. Humanity's voice was heard throughout the galaxy. A message was broadcast to all the major empires and their leaders. "We are willing to help," the message began. "Our people may not be as powerful or advanced as the great civilizations, but we will fight. We will stand with you." At first, the galaxy's leaders were stunned. Earth, the planet they had once called weak and insignificant, was offering to help. How could they? The human fleet was small, their ships outdated compared to the grand warships of the galactic empires. Their weapons were primitive, and their technology had never been considered a serious threat. But as the days passed and the situation grew more dire, the plea from Earth began to echo in the minds of the leaders. Could humanity really make a difference? Was it possible that, in the face of total annihilation, Earth's people might have something the galaxy's great civilizations lacked? Something that could turn the tide? In the council chambers of the largest empires, heated debates took place. Some dismissed the idea outright, convinced that the humans could not possibly be of any help. Others, however, saw a glimmer of hope. The humans had proven themselves resilient, surviving in a hostile and unforgiving world, despite the odds stacked against them. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was something about humanity's spirit that could help in ways the galaxy's great powers could not. The question now was whether the galaxy's leaders would accept humanity's offer. With the invaders drawing ever closer, the decision had to be made. And finally, with reluctance and fear, the leaders of the galaxy's surviving powers agreed. They would need the humans, even if it meant swallowing their pride. They would send a response, one that would mark the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history. The message to Earth was brief. "We accept your help." Back on Earth, the announcement sent shockwaves through the population. The humans had known the situation was dire, but now it was real. They were going to be involved in something far greater than they ever imagined. There was no time to prepare fully, but the will to act was there. Earth's leaders, military commanders, and scientists gathered quickly to form a plan. The stakes were high. This was no longer just about saving their own planet. It was about saving the galaxy itself. Humanity had no choice but to make the most of what they had. The first step was to prepare Earth's military forces for battle. The ships were quickly outfitted with everything the humans could muster. Some had been retrofitted with new technologies, while others relied on simpler, more traditional weaponry. It was far from the grandeur of the galaxy's fleets, but it was all they had. Humanity's forces weren't the biggest, but they were fierce. What humanity lacked in advanced technology, they made up for with something else: determination. Unlike the galactic empires, who had grown complacent in their power, humans were driven by a fire within them, a desire to survive, to protect their world, and to prove themselves. Earth's forces were united by one thing: the belief that, together, they could defeat this enemy. Despite the uncertainty and fear, Earth's forces mobilized. Ships took off from the planet, heading for the battlefronts where the greatest empires had already made their last stand. As they arrived, they saw firsthand the scale of the devastation. Fleets of the greatest powers in the galaxy were being torn apart, their crews desperate to hold on to their last remnants of hope. The humans didn't have much, but they had something the galaxy's empires had lost: belief in their own strength. As humanity's ships entered the fray, they quickly learned that the invaders were unlike anything they had ever faced. Their ships were sleek, fast, and nearly invincible. Their weapons were beyond anything humanity had ever seen, and their tactics were ruthless. But the humans had one advantage the empires hadn't: an unshakable resolve. The first few battles were hard. Humanity's forces were overwhelmed at first, but they didn't back down. They fought with everything they had, determined to show the galaxy that they were not the weak species they had been made out to be. The invaders were powerful, but the humans refused to be intimidated. Meanwhile, the galaxy's empires watched in stunned silence as the humans fought. They couldn't believe it. In the face of overwhelming odds, the humans were holding their ground. They weren't winning yet, but they were showing the galaxy something the empires had forgotten: true courage. But as humanity continued to fight, another realization hit the galaxy's leaders. Earth wasn't just a valuable ally because of their determination. Humanity had something else the invaders didn't expect: a hidden strength that, if harnessed, might be the key to defeating the enemy once and for all. The question was, would the galaxy's empires be willing to work with humanity long enough to uncover it? You said, humanity's secret weapon. The galaxy's empires, watching humanity's unexpected resolve on the battlefield, began to realize that they had misjudged Earth all along. Humanity's soldiers fought with an intensity that was unmatched, and their resilience in the face of overwhelming odds was a reminder to the galaxy's leaders of something important: humans would never give up. But the empires couldn't help but wonder what made them so capable of holding their own against such a powerful enemy. As the war continued to rage, humanity's fleets began to show signs of something different. They weren't just fighting to survive, they were fighting to win. They were pushing back against the invaders, bit by bit, and they were doing it with a sort of ingenuity that no one had expected. Where the empires had used brute force and overwhelming power, the humans fought with strategy, resourcefulness, and, above all, a kind of determination that made them unpredictable. It didn't take long for the galactic leaders to realize something extraordinary was happening. The humans, it seemed, had discovered a technology that even the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy had overlooked. Hidden deep within Earth's military base on the moon, a top-secret project had been underway for years, known only to a select few. The project, which had been seen as a desperate, last-ditch effort by a planet that had always been ignored by the galaxy's major powers, was humanity's trump card. The project was an advanced form of energy manipulation, a technology that, when perfected, could turn the tide of the entire war. The humans had developed a unique form of weaponry, based not on raw power or destruction, but on the ability to manipulate energy fields in ways no one had ever seen. It was not just a weapon. It was a key to controlling the very forces of nature itself. The humans had discovered a way to harness the energy of stars, turning it into a concentrated force that could destroy entire fleets in an instant. But this technology wasn't just about strength. It was about precision. The humans had found a way to direct massive amounts of energy with pinpoint accuracy. Where the galactic empires relied on overwhelming firepower, the humans could now target key weaknesses in the invaders' fleets. Their weaponry wasn't designed to destroy everything in its path. It was designed to strike at the heart of the enemy, to disable their ships and disrupt their strategies. The galaxy's leaders, who had long seen humanity as an afterthought, were stunned by this revelation. How could such a small, seemingly insignificant species have created something so powerful? The humans, who had been mocked for their primitive technology, were now showing the galaxy that they had developed something the rest of the universe had overlooked. A weapon that could win the war. With this newfound weapon, humanity began to change the course of the war. The invaders, who had once been unstoppable, began to falter. Every time they launched an attack, humanity's forces countered with precision strikes, disabling their ships and forcing them into retreat. The invaders, once so confident in their superiority, were now the ones on the defensive. But there was a cost. The energy manipulation technology was powerful, but it was also unstable. Humanity's scientists worked tirelessly to perfect it, but every use drained vital resources and threatened to tear apart the fabric of the very energy fields they were manipulating. The humans knew that they couldn't rely on this weapon forever. It was their secret weapon, yes, but it was also a fragile one. As the humans pressed on with their newfound advantage, the galaxy's leaders were left with no choice but to accept that they had been wrong about Earth. They had underestimated humanity's ingenuity, strength, and resilience. The humans had not only proven themselves as capable fighters, but they had also demonstrated that they had the potential to save the galaxy from destruction. The invaders, once so sure of their victory, were now in retreat. With every victory humanity claimed, the hope of a galactic-wide victory grew stronger. The humans were no longer just a sidekick in this war. They were the central force that could turn the tide. The empires, now working alongside Earth, began to realize that the galaxy's greatest asset was not their power or technology, but their unity. And with humanity at the forefront, they had a chance, a real chance, to win this war and save the galaxy. But as the final confrontation with the invaders loomed, one question remained. Would humanity's secret weapon be enough to defeat the enemy once and for all, or would they have to rely on something else entirely? The very thing the galaxy had once called their greatest weakness: human spirit. The fight begins. The war against the invaders was no longer just a desperate struggle. It had transformed into something more. With humanity's newfound weapon, one that could manipulate the very forces of nature, the tide of the war was beginning to shift. The invaders, who had once seemed unstoppable, were now being pushed back, retreating in disarray as humanity's fleets struck swiftly and decisively. But despite their advances, Earth's forces knew that the real battle had only just begun. The galaxy's greatest powers, once skeptical and dismissive of humanity's abilities, now stood alongside them, forming an unlikely but powerful alliance. But their cooperation was far from smooth. The Empire's pride had been bruised, their confidence shattered, and old rivalries threatened to tear the alliance apart. The human forces, however, remained unified. Their singular focus on survival and victory drove them forward, knowing that their unity and resilience were their greatest strength. The first major battle took place in the heart of the galaxy, where the last remnants of the invaders' fleet had taken refuge. This was their last stronghold, and they were determined to defend it at all costs. The humans, backed by the Allied fleets, prepared for the confrontation that would determine the fate of the galaxy. The galaxy's empires, despite their advanced technologies, could no longer operate alone. They needed humanity's innovation and determination to survive. The battle began with a roar. Humanity's fleets, now equipped with a powerful energy manipulation technology, led the charge. Their ships were not the largest, nor the most imposing, but their precision and ability to strike where the invaders were weakest made all the difference. As the invaders' ships engaged, the humans deployed their weapon, focusing the energy into pinpoint strikes that disabled entire fleets in moments. The invaders were caught off guard by the humans' unexpected strength. Their ships, once thought invincible, were now being taken apart piece by piece. But the invaders weren't going down without a fight. They quickly adapted, launching a counterattack with new, more aggressive tactics. The humans had shown that they could fight back. But now, the invaders were more determined than ever to crush Earth's forces once and for all. The Allied fleets, including the mighty empires of the galaxy, began to engage the invaders head-on. The galactic forces were strong, but they were not prepared for the brutality of the invaders' strategies. The humans, with their new weapon, were able to strike harder and faster than any of the galaxy's empires. Yet, as the battle intensified, they quickly realized that their advantage could only last for so long. Every shot fired by their energy weapons drained vital resources and put their technology at risk. In the midst of the chaos, a grim realization settled over the battlefield. The invaders were relentless. Their ships were numerous, and their ability to adapt was unmatched. The humans, despite their ingenuity and determination, were running low on energy reserves. They could not keep up the fight forever. The galaxy's greatest empires, despite their powerful fleets, were also struggling, caught off guard by the invaders' sudden shift in tactics. The battle had reached a tipping point. But then, humanity did what they did best. They adapted. Realizing that their energy weapons couldn't last indefinitely, they began to deploy unconventional tactics. Instead of relying solely on brute force, the humans used guerrilla tactics, smaller, faster ships that could hit the invaders' vulnerable points and retreat before the enemy could retaliate. These hit-and-run attacks caught the invaders off guard, forcing them to spread their forces thin and creating openings in their defenses. The humans' creativity on the battlefield began to make all the difference. They weren't fighting with overwhelming firepower. They were fighting with brains, strategy, and a deep understanding of how to use the resources they had. It wasn't enough to simply match the invaders' strength. They had to outsmart them. At the same time, the galactic empires were beginning to see the value in working together with humanity. The arrogance that had once kept them separate was starting to break down. The realization hit them. The humans weren't just a resource to be used. They were partners, equal participants in this war. The invaders had underestimated Earth once, and now they were paying the price. As the battle raged on, the tide began to turn. The invaders, once so sure of their victory, were now struggling to maintain their hold on the galaxy. The humans had proven that they could hold their own, and more importantly, they had shown the galaxy what true strength looked like. It wasn't just about overwhelming power or superior technology. It was about determination, unity, and the courage to keep fighting when everything seemed lost. The battle was far from over, but humanity had made its mark. The invaders were retreating, their forces scattered and disorganized. The galactic leaders, once doubtful of humanity's place in the universe, now knew that Earth's people were not just survivors, they were warriors. And in the face of the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known, they were the key to victory. The fight was far from over, but humanity's role in this war was no longer a question. It was clear. Earth's people were the galaxy's greatest hope. As the final confrontation with the invaders loomed, everyone knew one thing for certain. Humanity's strength had only just begun to reveal itself. The turning point. The war had dragged on for what felt like an eternity. Humanity, once viewed as weak, now stood at the forefront of the galaxy's defense. The invaders, who had once crushed every opposition in their path, were retreating. But despite the progress, the galaxy's leaders knew that the final confrontation was still ahead. and it would be the most difficult fight of all. Humanity's fleets had proven their worth, but they had paid a heavy price. The energy manipulation weapon that had turned the tide of battle was beginning to fail. Every use of the technology drained precious resources, and it was becoming clear that they couldn't rely on it for much longer. The galaxy's powers were already on their last legs, their fleets diminished, their resources stretched thin. The final push to defeat the invaders was now a race against time. With each passing day, the invaders adapted, learning from every battle, improving their tactics. The galaxy's forces had fought with bravery, but their numbers were dwindling. The humans, despite their resilience, were beginning to show signs of fatigue. The battles had taken their toll on Earth's military forces, and morale was at an all-time low. But then, a breakthrough came. A signal was intercepted by humanity's most advanced intelligence network, a signal that revealed the invaders' most critical vulnerability. It wasn't a flaw in their technology, nor a weak point in their ships. It was something much deeper, a psychological weakness. The invaders, despite their incredible power and deadly tactics, were not a united force. They were divided, fractured, each faction led by competing commanders with different goals and methods. This was the opening humanity had been waiting for. While the empires of the galaxy struggled to organize a united front, humanity recognized the invaders' internal struggles and seized the opportunity to strike at the heart of their command structure. The plan was simple but risky. Humanity's fleets would infiltrate the invaders' stronghold, a massive, heavily fortified fortress located on the edge of the galaxy. The stronghold was believed to be impenetrable, but humanity's tactical genius had found a way in. A small strike team of elite soldiers, aided by human engineers, would launch a covert operation to disable the invaders' command center, sowing confusion and forcing their factions into chaos. The risk was immense. If the strike team failed, it could spell the end for Earth's forces. But if they succeeded, they could deal a crippling blow to the invaders' unity, causing them to fall apart from within. The future of the galaxy rested on the success of this mission. The strike team, composed of some of the best and brightest humans, prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives. With grim determination, they set their course toward the stronghold, knowing that the fate of the galaxy was in their hands. As they infiltrated the fortress, they were met with fierce resistance. The invaders had fortified their defenses, expecting an attack from every angle. But the humans were ready. They moved with precision, using their agility and resourcefulness to outmaneuver the invader soldiers. The team reached the command center, a massive, heavily guarded facility at the heart of the stronghold. Inside, they planted explosives designed to cripple the invaders' communication systems and disrupt their command chain. The strike team's success hinged on one final move. They had to get out. The explosion was set to go off in minutes, and they had no time to waste. As the team raced to escape, alarms blared throughout the stronghold. The invaders realized that their command center was under attack, but by then it was too late. The explosion rocked the fortress, sending shockwaves through the invader ranks. The chaos was immediate. The invaders' communication systems went dark, their leaders lost contact with their armies, and their once coordinated attacks disintegrated into confusion. With their command structure shattered, the invaders' once impenetrable forces were now scattered and disorganized. Back on the battlefield, humanity's forces seized the moment. The invaders, now facing internal turmoil, struggled to maintain any semblance of order. The humans, with their knowledge of the invaders' tactics and their newfound confidence, launched a decisive counterattack. The galaxy's remaining fleets, working alongside the humans, pushed forward with a newfound sense of hope. The invaders, now fractured and leaderless, were no longer the unstoppable force they had once been. Humanity's quick thinking and bold actions had dealt them a critical blow. The galaxy's powers, once fractured and distrustful of humanity, now united with renewed purpose. The humans had proven that they were not just warriors. They were tacticians, capable of changing the course of the war with their ingenuity and determination. The turning point had arrived. The invaders' reign of terror was crumbling and victory was within reach. But as the final battle loomed, humanity's forces knew that the price of peace would be steep. There was no turning back now. The fight for the galaxy's future was almost over, and humanity had shown the universe that they would not be underestimated any longer. The invaders' fate was sealed, but the true test was still ahead. Would humanity's final push be enough to end the war, or would the invaders find a way to regroup and strike back? The answer lay in the courage of Earth's people, and the hope that their strength, ingenuity, and unity would carry them through to the final victory. The victory. The final battle had arrived. After weeks of brutal combat, daring strikes, and relentless determination, humanity stood at the precipice of victory. The invaders' once unshakable hold on the galaxy was faltering, their command structure shattered, their forces disorganized and scattered. The galaxy's greatest empires, once too proud to accept humanity's help, now fought side by side with Earth's forces in a united front. The humans, against all odds, had become the galaxy's greatest hope. But even as victory loomed, the stakes were higher than ever. The invaders, though weakened, were not defeated yet. They had not surrendered. They were desperate. The final confrontation would be the most dangerous, the most brutal, and the humans knew that the cost of victory would be steep. Everything they had fought for, everything they had sacrificed, would be decided in this one final clash. The humans' forces, bolstered by their newfound unity with the galaxy's empires, launched a massive assault against the invaders' remaining stronghold. The battle raged across the stars, ships firing at full power, entire fleets engaged in a fight to the death. The air was thick with the roar of energy blasts, the sound of massive explosions as the invaders fought to hold their ground. But it was clear, humanity's resolve had turned the tide. The invaders, once so confident, were now the ones on the defensive. Their forces were scattered, their leadership in chaos, and their once feared ships no longer able to hold their ground against the combined might of humanity and the galaxy's empires. The decisive blow came when humanity, using their advanced energy manipulation technology, launched a final, coordinated strike at the heart of the invaders' fleet. With pinpoint precision, they disabled the core of the invaders' flagship, the symbol of their power. The energy surge from the blast rippled across the battlefield, sending shockwaves through the invaders' forces. Their ships, once invincible, began to fall one by one. The remaining invaders, unable to organize or respond effectively, began to retreat, abandoning their fleet and scrambling for survival. The humans, now with the upper hand, pushed forward relentlessly, striking at every weak point. The invaders had been defeated, their forces shattered. They had underestimated humanity's strength, and now they were paying the price. The galaxy's leaders watched in awe as humanity's forces drove the final nail into the invaders' coffin. The once feared conquerors who had spread terror across the galaxy were now fleeing into the unknown, their empire crumbling into dust. Humanity had not just survived, they had triumphed. The galaxy, which had once called them weak, now looked at them with newfound respect. As the last invader ship turned to retreat, the galaxy's empires hailed humanity as their savior. The humans had proven that they were not just another species to be ignored or belittled. They had shown the universe what true strength meant, not in the form of overwhelming power, but in resilience, unity, and the unwavering will to fight for survival. In the aftermath of the war, the galaxy began to rebuild. The humans, once isolated and marginalized, now stood as leaders among the stars. Earth's people had earned their place in the galactic community, not through force, but through their courage, ingenuity, and the unbreakable spirit that had carried them through the darkest of times. Humanity had achieved what no one thought possible. They had defeated the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. And as the dust settled, the leaders of the galaxy looked at Earth's people with admiration. The humans had not only saved the galaxy, they had changed its very course. No longer would they be viewed as weak or insignificant. The universe had learned an important lesson. Never underestimate the heart of humanity. The story of Earth's victory spread across the stars, inspiring countless worlds and races. The humans had proven that even in the face of insurmountable odds, the strength of the human spirit could not be broken. The galaxy would never forget the day they learned that humanity was not to be underestimated. It was a victory for the ages, one that would be remembered for eons to come. And so, as the stars glowed brighter than ever before, humanity stood tall, knowing they had secured their place in the galaxy, not just as survivors, but as heroes. The universe had called them weak. Now, it called them saviors.